The worst advice I've ever gotten. If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. Worst
Troy
advice.
Sandidge, that's terrible. If you build it, they will come. Dude, that didn't happen in Field of Dreams. That doesn't, or maybe it did, but nowhere else does that happen, man. So, Troy, who the hell gave you that advice, dude?
We're not going to mention the CEO's name for the record, but let's say they work for a Fortune 500 organization.
No way.
Way.
Wow. So they shared that with you. And so what were they hoping that you would build? I'm not looking for you to get super specific, but was it like a website? Was it an app? Like what the heck were you supposed to be building, Troy?
Oh,
But
it
they will
was a
come.
smorgasbord. It was a full buffet. It was a full-fledged new updated website, full-fledged series of content, blogs. It's not that engaging, kind of old school, and some videos. And just build it, and people will come like it's nothing. They'll just show up. Magic. Take my money now. As a meme from Futurama would be.
Wow. Wow. That's so interesting. So Troy, you're known as a strategy hacker. So I'm gonna guess that you actually have to have a strategy before you get into this building stuff, right? Is that kind of your philosophy, Troy?
That's pretty much the code. You kind of can't start building if you don't have the blueprint, y'all. Make sure you got your permits with the code, you got the materials, you budget out the costs, you got the workers, you know what the final picture looks like, because you can't build something and say we build it up the code if you don't know what the vision even looks like. So yeah.
Okay, so strategy is the blueprint, right? Strategy is we got it laid out. We got this here and that there. I want a living room here, and I want a website here, and so talk to me, Troy. As you're someone I know who busts apart these processes. What do I need to be thinking about as it comes to a strategy if I'm starting a new organization, a new company?
I think the first thing, and everyone, if you heard me talk, you already know, is clarity. We can't help you with unless you're uncertain. If you're so uncertain about what the end result is, about the destination, about what the big picture looks like, we can't build a strategy for you. You have to come in certain about, here's where I'm trying to go to, and here's where I am. If we know where point A is and we know where point B is, we can build a strategy, the roadmap, the GPS, whatever you want to call it, around it. Without those 2 points, we can't help you because we don't know the full tea, the full facts of where you are. And this is the moment where you be transparent, honest, and real with yourself, with your business, with your situation awareness, all the tea, and be very clear about what does success look like. What do you want your business to achieve? What's the goal? What's the KPI? What's the OKR? What is it that you need to achieve? And then we just plot the points to get you from point A to point B.
Let's get specific here, Troy. So point A would be okay. I'm making a 250 a year, and point B would be I want to make $1 million a year. Is that what we're talking about here?
And it could be just as simple as that. Currently, right now, I'm making 250,000. I have maybe a smorgasbord of 4 to 5 clients. I would like to see that expanded, so I have multiple pegs keeping me grounded because this pandemic season is still kind of crazy. And we want to grow and either scale from the current client base we have, or strategically bring on new clientele that has a more profit margin, or maybe more retainer base that could get me to that 7-figure growth. And the deadline being by next year. So we got 12 months, we want to go from 3 to 5 clients to maybe 9 to 12 clients, and having a profit margin of XYZ to get to $1.5 million.
Okay. So there's a little more there, right? So a little more. So we got our points. We have that, and now we're fleshing this out here. So now we've got new business, new-ish business. We say we've got that. We've got a time frame as well. And then what do we want that to look like, right? Do we want new clients? Do we want to grow with the existing clients? I mean, what else should we be thinking about here, Troy? How do we
Definitely,
let me go.
definitely, I would think go with what you currently have in your client base and look at, can we get more opportunities from them? They already know how you work. You have rapport, you have relationship, assuming you're in good standings. And if they're growing, that means there's opportunity for you to grow with them as your strategic partner, whatever it is that you offer, whatever base that you are as your business provider or product or services or whatever the case might be. So definitely going with who you already have first. Either they're going to be an extended buyer, they're going to sign up, add more service, more products, Or, and this people don't really think about, is to ask them to refer a new business to you. They already know the language of the very people they're talking to, and they can vouch for you. And that transition can reduce your sales conversations, your sales process, and at least the time to qualify, disqualify. This is going to be a good opportunity and timeline much faster with them leading the round and you just coming up to being that supportive arm to them.
That's interesting. So that's so interesting because I'll tell you, Troy, a lot of the businesses I work with, they don't ask for those referrals. They don't say that. So why not? Like what do you find? I know that because you do this. What are you finding? Why are people not asking for those referrals?
I don't know. I think I would what they say about assume, but I'm going to use the word assume. Don't judge me, y'all. I would assume the pandemic and what has happened has caused us to wake up a little bit and be clear about, hey, I just need to get to this destination, these goals. And we got to relinquish our pride and our ego. And if our current client base is our in to get the destination that we want, our shortcut that when the GPS says, hey, if you want to take this route, you're going to cut 30 minutes off your time, you're going to click that route and you're going to take it. And so I think it's just people being aware and understanding that, stop focusing on, now, again, we want to be moral and ethical. I'm not denouncing that. I'm saying stop focusing on, oh, it doesn't count if I do all this work, if I don't do all the constant sales processes, the pitch decks, got to go through 10 channels of email threads, go through multiple decision makers. If I can go through my client and they can be directed to the decision maker, and it has one conversation, one phone call, one Zoom call, one in person, one handshake, and the deal is done, I don't know why you wouldn't take it. And I think the part of it is we think we have to get business a certain way, and we're used to it a certain way. And we're not allowing ourselves the opportunity to try other things, especially when our current client base can be our biggest fans to open those doors we can't open by ourselves.
Yeah. Wow. So that's so interesting, right? Because that makes business so much faster and so much simpler if we want to grow, if we just ask for those referrals. So that's brilliant, man. So, okay, I've got that. That's one growth strategy, one growth hack. I love that. That's a great reminder for me and hopefully for those listening and watching. But now let's talk about content, Troy. You people talk about content quality, right? We got to build this and build that and all of that. But you say, what good is quality if no one's here to see it? So what does that mean, Troy? Like, how do we get that seen? And don't we just have this pretty website? Don't people just come?
I always think of it like, and again, it's in marketing and content and in business, it's a constant state of unlearning and relearning, rewiring, recalibrating, reprogramming. If this is not working and we based off this notion of what people have told us, best practices, top voices, influencers, thought leaders, whatever you want to put in the caveat right there. We're not going to talk about it though, but put anything right there. If it's not working for you, clearly there's some other things that we're not thinking about. And so for me, I think about when people say we should buy a car. I don't care how long it took you to design the new aesthetics in the car, or the new features in the car, or you picked a certain paint job or whatever, and you called it version 2, version XYZ, whatever. The quality of that car is going to be dictated not by how long it took you to create it, but by the user when they get in that experience and they feel it and they smell it and they know, oh, that engine, oh, it drives smooth. It feels all these certain things and caveats. In the same way with your business and how you create certain content, quality is not subject to how long it took you, how much money you spent on it, because there's people, just an iPhone, killing you out the water with just an iPhone. So if that is the case, quality is subjected to the audience seeing it and it moving them the needle. And the only way we can know if the quality is of high par is if enough distribution is done so we can have enough data to tell me this content is of high quality versus, well, it took me 35 hours to make. It cost me $5,000 to produce that video. I put it on YouTube and boom, I know we're going to blow some water. We about to have, 10x ROI, baby, by next month. Crickets, nothing. Why? because quality is subjective to those who consume. The more you consume, the more data you'll tell you if it's of high quality or is not of high quality. So they weren't wrong when they say quality is king. Just understand that the quality is not from your perspective, it's the perspective of your ideal audience that you're trying to attract to sign that contract, to pay you in exchange for money for the offering that you provide.
So distribution. So Troy, you said distribution, right? So how do we get more distribution? Give me some tactics or some hacks that we can use to get more distribution.
Sure, not everything. This is where strategy. I know strategy. I get it. Comes into play here, even with your content creation. A good piece of quality content should at least be able to distribute it to 10 different channels. So, for example, we do this interview. Phil's amazing. Whatever. I'm just fanboying. But we're not gonna talk about that right now. I should have worn my orange shirt, Phil. I should have worn my orange shirt today. I didn't think about that next time. So my point is, when we're doing this conversation, okay, we're at an hour, right? Cool. This is one video. Take that up. We got short video snippets. We got audiograms. We got quote graphics. We got short form videos. Short form posts, long form posts. All that could be out there. Now, then distribute that per LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter threads, micro threads. You can even repeat it as a replay on Clubhouse or Twitter Spaces. Now, we just took this 1 hour and can crank out 20 extended hours of users to consume it in different facets that make sense to them. But now the quality is good content. We're pushing it out there, and we're going to get a lot of data and feedback back from different channels letting us know what landed, what didn't land it, how can we position, test the waters and other platforms maybe we're not so sure about. Now, to me, that's a quality piece of content because you had a good strategy to say how we're going to distribute this out. Because let me ask y'all this for those who are rhetorically, listening, this is a rhetorical question for you. I bet you all have like at least 30 videos, a lot of ideas of content that's been sitting on your computer, sitting on your phone. It's there, it's great, and you ain't never distributed. It's just there. You recorded it, it's there. You had one YouTube video, live stream, just sitting there. Ain't doing nothing. Collecting digital dust. Ain't doing nothing. But it's quality content that no one's seen because you haven't distributed enough. If 90% of the people now are always on this screen, whether you're on your phone, your computer, and they're constantly being bombarded with a minimum of 40,000 touch points of ads daily, you think just posting that one time is supposed to make you the money that you want? The squeaky wheel gets the oil because people are seeing it consistently enough to, in their top of mind, to understand, I need to maybe be a buyer. I should be an advocate. Or maybe I should be the elevator for this person. And honestly, it's not just in the content creation. A lot of it is that we don't distribute enough and enough volume for enough people to see it enough, to trust you enough to say, I want to buy, I want to work with Phil, I want to make things happen in 2022.
Wow. So I'll tell you, Troy, personally, I've always felt spammy if I share stuff too much. But you're saying at least 10, probably 20. We've got an hour here. These are lots of things. So reassure me, man. So you're sure that's not spammy? Like my audience is not going to say, come on, man, you said that yesterday.
Now, obviously, the other component of strategy is not just being redundant and broadcast. You have this content now. Now you have to tone it in a way to have create a two-way conversation. So you're breaking it apart. You're dissecting the topics and themes of maybe 5-minute segments here or a stanza there for a post or whatever. And you're breaking it down, but you're asking questions. You're trying to have conversation, trying to have dialogue. I can take this same video here, slice it up, and do a series theme that could span for the next 2 months, breaking down certain subject matter, asking questions. Now the feel is, well, you're pulling from the same source material. Yes, but each experience is different and unique, and it's not looking like I copied and paste, because that doesn't help you either. It is about having that balance of distribution properly, but in the mindset of I'm leading them on a journey. So most times people think with their sales cycles and sales funnels, we'll make an email and then you do a series, maybe 3 to 5 email touch points. In the same way with your social media, you do the same thing. And kudos to you if you do an extra bonus of referencing previous posts. If a post does really well from the same source material, and hey, I have 5 other posts that's sitting out there in the universe, let me pull up those links and drive it back into the cycle of those posts. and now you're reviving and bringing new life into your content strategy. Yes, it's the same old material, but if Taco Bell can take 5 ingredients and sell you a different ways on it and get you excited by literally the same product with the same material, just slightly modified, and now it's the bee's knees for the next 3 quarters, you can do that in your business using the same piece of content in a high quality, high demanding distribution way.
Dude, Taco Bell takes 5 ingredients and creates a 100-piece menu. And why aren't we? That's an awesome way to think about it, Troy. I'd never thought about that, and I've listened to your stuff for a long time, man. And I have admiration for you too, my friend. And so I think about that, the Taco Bell way of doing that. That's so interesting. So let's talk about that, Troy. Let's talk about ingredients as we talk about, a live stream, right? Maybe repurposing a live stream. Do we take each question? I mean, how do we do that, Troy? Because again, I don't do that as well as I'd like to. So I'm sure those listening, those watching here are like, well, I may not do that as well either. So talk to me about what that looks like, Troy.
All right, we're about to go down a rabbit hole. I know
Let's go.
I'm a big Matrix fan, y'all. I'm fanning. All right, here we go. So the first thing when you do a live stream, number one, the reason why you should do a live stream for any other video production piece is that, one, as you're going live, you're literally creating content in real time. It's posted for you. That's the first one. The first thing is getting it out there on the internet. And so you did that. So maybe you're using StreamYard, Restream, whatever, and it's posted on YouTube, it's posted on LinkedIn. You can still post it on Twitter, things like that. So great. So let's say you check mark LinkedIn and YouTube. Done. That's great. 2 videos technically have been posted on your accounts. It's going to help you with SEO. First thing. Great. And again, a lot of people aren't doing LinkedIn Live. So still, it's going to bring in those replays. People sleep on the replays. So we're not going to talk about that. So the blueprint is this. I'm looking through this video, right? And we're seeing people who comment at certain sections. That tells me if someone took the effort to put a comment on a live stream at a certain point, note that. Go back and reply to them, but note that point, because that tells me that's a segment that needs to be snipped out and repurposed as content. And so if you're getting key content engagement, comment engagement for certain things. So let's say the live stream is 30 minutes and you have, core about 5 to 10 where people are just commenting on those sections. Well, those are your sections to repurpose in short, condensed videos, in long form and short form pieces of content. And I'll give you one thing better. You can see everyone who comment. Why don't you tag them in the post where you go a little bit deeper into that segment? Woo! So you added engagement and you're using those who commented as igniters for new conversations, referencing them. Now you're just doing all this at the same time. Community touch points, engagement touch points, and people remember that. So imagine you do a live stream for 30 minutes with prospects and tell you that 10% of those who engage are your potential buyer. And let's say they commented and you tag and reference and go a little bit deeper on these segments of core from the source material of that live stream piece. You know how well it's going to see and land with them? Man, okay, I'm struggling trying to have these conversations. You just did it for they gave you the ammunition to solve their problem for them and walk them through what does it look like to work with you? What is it to buy your product, your service, your offering, whether you're in tech, SaaS, B2B, B2C, doesn't matter. The system works, baby. It works. And you need to take that from a 30-minute live stream. So you got that core 30-minute live stream that may splice up to 5 to 10-minute segments, 5 to 10 individual micro segments, and then you sprinkle that in with short burst content. You can do that a LinkedIn article recap. You can do a blog recap. And then you can just say, hey, people asked me these core questions from my last live stream. I want to go deeper. And you start referencing people and tag them in the times the next live stream is done. That process is going to work. And so imagine doing all of that versus I got to take my phone. I got to record. My lighting ain't right. I don't know how I sound. That limits all that when you go live. When you press record, it is what it is. But people forgive you. They don't care because they think you're so courageous. And now they see, you know how you go into a meeting and you will start asking questions. Because you ask questions, people assort you in a different authority. So you can start just asking questions or see people reference certain things. And so that's how you're taking live streaming and building out. Now I know I'm going to mega deep for a good 2.5 minutes, but that's just one possibility of how with strategy and live streaming can help you create a massive amount of content that hopefully give you more leads, get you more sales, make you more money, so we can create the life that we want better in 2022.
Wow. Wow. That's so good, man. So Doug just chimed in here with some layman's terms. The content from comments creating is user generated content. It's powerful. And I totally agree, Doug. That's right on. That's what Troy said there. And that's, as he's doing, that's money. That's money. So Troy, we start out with this strategy, right? We know who our customer is. We know where we want to go. We know all of this. Now, you mentioned live streaming, and I will say I love live streaming. I like to be able to think in the moment. I like to be present, and I also love podcasts. And your podcast is on the HubSpot podcast network, which is pretty darn
correct.
cool, man. So talk to me. Is your podcast the same as a live stream, or what's the difference?
So I'm a person who deliberately, though I know I'm very charming, I'm very energetic on camera, I chose to eliminate as much friction as possible. So I do not do video recording. And it's an art to podcasting. I think sometimes some people can transition where they know what language they need to use to articulate during like live stream. You can see my enthusiasm, you can see my swag. We got this conversation going. If they're just audio only, there's so much information they're not able to pick up. And so if you don't know how to articulate yourself from an audio and video simultaneously at the same time, and not many people are really good at it, if I'm doing podcasts, I need to be as intimate and focused on the listener through their ears versus me trying to be animated because they can't reference that. They can't reference my emotions, but they can reference if I focus on the audio. And so I strictly made an audio only, no video. I have a very, very simple setup. I got like 10 mics on here, y'all. That's just the one I use for my podcast. And I think what I focused on, and this is what I had told people from the jump, no more than 30 minutes, no matter what. And it's only going to be me. Now, those are two things that people are like, blasphemy, because everyone knows if you start a podcast, you want to have interviews because you only as good as your interviews. I'm like, I don't want that experience. I want people to come for me. And this is the one time I want to be selfish, but also if they're listening for me because now I got to compete with, I got to have the next big interview every single time. That's going to get capped out. And I didn't have, at the time, I didn't have the assistants. I didn't have the people to make sure I consistently do that because life gets in the way. But I knew I can focus on 30 minutes, record a topic and a theme in a very enthusiastic way, bring actual takeaways, and come from the jump. And so I had a very key outline. I went more micro than that I do my live stream. My live streams, I give myself more grace. And my podcast, I probably should do my live stream the same way too. But my podcast, I had key outline of what I'm going to talk about. And I don't make it very scripted. I'm reading. I don't like that because people can tell. But an outline to say, what's my punchline? And those who have listened to my podcast, they know in the first 3 minutes, I bring it pretty hard because I want to get your attention. I want to challenge your thought process. I want you to be engaged for the next 15 to 20 minutes. And so having a process and an outline, eliminating friction and making it a way where I can be consistent, because I knew if I couldn't be consistent at this podcasting thing, it would be a waste of my time. 90% of podcasters stop at episode 7. 90%, y'all. So if you get to past episode 7, you did something. You achieved something. And if you get past episode 21, you automatically in the top 10% of podcasters all time getting past episode 21. And I'm currently at episode 41. So you can tell the work that has been involved. And it's really about being consistent. So whether it's live streaming, whether it's podcasting, whether it's blogging, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever, consistency over a span of time, kind of like investments. It's going to be dips, but if you just be consistent, you're going to see growth. It's numbers game, and you're always going to see growth.
Okay. So how consistent, Troy? Is it weekly? Is it daily? The podcast, for those listening, those watching, it's the I Digress podcast with Troy. So definitely check that out. Give that a listen when you're done with this one, not right now. But so talk to me about consistency, Troy. What does that mean to you?
I know that, if you want to scale quickly, people do daily. I couldn't commit to that. And I knew that me doing monthly wouldn't be enough. So I said bi-weekly, I can do 2 episodes a month. And maybe if I want to be bonus and try to shoot for 3. So I always shoot for 3. Because now psychologically in my mind, I did more than what was required. My standard was 2. I did 3. Now there were months I only did 1 or 2. But I knew that would be the goal, and I gave myself that grace to fulfill it and consistently roll through it. And it's been really well. And it is been one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. I didn't realize how quickly, not that I quit, but I get bored easily. I struggle with consistency because I see that as something I have to do. And it's just, oh, I don't want to do it. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, but it's different. It's totally different when you start seeing money coming from it. Now it changes your whole world. You're like, it's something I get to do. Now I got to do. I get to do. Kind of like the Mario, you got to bump the coin. You'll get my point. And so in the same way, once I figured out, and again, this is why coming up with a strategy and knowing your weaknesses. I get bored easily. I need to be something so short, 30 minutes or less, to the point. Here it is. That's my blueprint for me. And I'm sticking with it. You know how many folk, and I feel bad. You know how many folk in my since it's been 15 months from when I started to now, how many folk asked me to be a guest on the podcast? And I told them no. And they felt just like, why? I deserve to be on your podcast. And if you're not having boundaries about how you're creating the content, what you're doing, and the vision you have, because no one has the vision like you do for what you want for the content you're creation and the goals you're trying to achieve. No one has it for you because it's meant for you. And so that's something I also had to learn, because there was times I almost broke my code. But now, as all this time has gone by, because it's hard to look at until you look at it in hindsight, now it's like, wow, you've achieved this. You've done this. You got your 20K download, 1,000 downloads a month, average, and all this stuff. Why? Because I stayed consistent, and people love consistency because they know what to look for, they know what to expect, and they get used to that. And so that's part of your brand and your message. So understand how to apply that with any type of content that you're doing.
Wow. That's good. That's gold, man. That's gold. So I guess I'm not going to be a guest on your show. I was going to put you on the spot there. So no, I'm just kidding. I know that it's only your show, Troy. I know that, right? And I get plenty of cold pitches too, right? From people who don't belong in the show. Hey, can I bring this? No. I typically pick my guests myself. Thank you very much. I do get some help from my friends at Interview Valet, who often send me good folks too. But yeah, typically not so much. But that's because I started with strategy. And I think that's a great point as we kind of bring this home here, buddy. You talk about quality being determined by the user. You talk about that clarity of your blueprint. So, Troy, if folks were going to start today and say, you know what, I'm going to make 22 my best year yet, I'm going to own it, where would you tell them that they need to start with this as the strategy hacker?
What's the number? What's the number? That's the first question you need to figure out. You want to know why? Because when you're asking other people to pay you, it feels awkward. You feel like, ooh, the tension. I don't know. But you have to deal with that for yourself. What's the number? So is that 500,000? Is that 250? Is that 150? Is that $1 million? I don't know your number. What's the number? That's the first thing you need to do for 2022. Everyone talks big about platitudes and mentality and all that stuff. That's great. Put that in the box and somewhere and sit down for a minute. What's the number? Once you have the number, that puts you in accountability check. Now you have 12 months to get to that number. Do the math. Divide it up, blah, 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 blah. If you do $100,000, you have to do $274 a day to get to $100,000 at the end of the year. If we did 274 times 365. So whatever your number is for whatever you need to do, divide it up into 12 months. Maybe you want to do 10 months because you want to give yourself some grace. I want to be done early. I don't want to struggle in Q4. I want to just cruise into Q4. So if that's your goal, take whatever your number is, take 2 months off. 10 months. Now that you have the number and you've divided it up, that's your average. That's how much money you have to generate every single month to get to your end goal. People don't like that pressure because it feels like it's tight. But if you're in business, we need a framework. We need an understanding of what we need to do and a constant blinking reminder of what we need to achieve. Now, from there, we overlay content, we overlay marketing and strategy. We budget ourselves out and we're seeing what's the ROI, what's the OKRs of everything, and work our way through a month in and a month out, quarter in and quarter out. And that may seem very robust, but growth is not easy. And growth doesn't happen without change. So have boundaries, ask yourself the number, iron it out, and apply yourself accordingly.
Wow. That is brilliant, my man. That is so good. That's a great place to end up, Troy. We could talk all day. Folks, if you're looking at Troy Sandidge and like, how do I get more of this guy? Check out Find Troy all over the internet. That's FINDTROY. He's got the I Digress podcast, which is fantastic, and I enjoy listening to when I'm out walking. And he's overall just a really good human being who is willing to work with you and help you create a better strategy. He makes it so simple here, friends. So if you're thinking, oh, this has got to be hard. No, it doesn't. Start with your number. What is your number? And work from there. Let everything else fall into place. So Troy, if you were to say though your favorite place, where would you want people to connect with you? Where would you like people to ask you questions at?
I say LinkedIn DMs, because I can send you a voice message right back. I do that for everybody. Send in a message, I'll send you a voice message back. All the enthusiasm that you see here is real. It's real, so be prepared and go there. And then if you just want to see my emotions, how my mind works, I'm a big fan of Twitter. I live on Twitter too. So
yeah. Awesome. So folks, you're listening, you're watching, get connected with Troy. It's Troy Sandidge, Sandidge. Like I said, the I Digress podcast, and find Troy wherever you are. Troy is there, and I'm grateful that he's in my world. Troy, thank you so much for sharing your smarts, buddy. I really appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Appreciate you more.